Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive is all about the work of Hasnain Zafar Balak and his impact on the field of medical education.
He really has been busy this year, hasn't he? Workshops, research, publications, even future plans. It's a lot to cover.
Well, that's why we're here, to unpack it all and really get a better understanding of Balak's contributions and his vision for the future.
Let's do it. Where should we start?
I think a good jumping-off point would be those workshops he conducted in 2024.
Oh, yeah, they were impressive. Not just your run-of-the-mill lectures either, but truly immersive experiences.
Especially that one on AI in medical education at Sharjah University. What do you think he focused on there?
Well, he's a big proponent of microlearning, so I imagine there was some of that.
Right, using those bite-sized learning
Yeah,
strategies.
exactly. Balak probably demonstrated how AI can personalize those experiences for students.
So instead of those massive textbooks, students get targeted information that caters to their individual needs.
Pretty much. And it fits perfectly with our fast-paced, technology-driven world.
Makes sense. What about that other workshop, the webinar he did?
Oh, you mean the technology-enhanced learning one for Smart University?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
In Iran, right.
That's right. Really solidifies his global reach, doesn't it?
It really does. So we've got the UAE and Iran, but then there was that international conference too.
Oh, right, the IMS.
Yeah, the International Medical Education Conference. I mean, being there really says something
Hmm.
about his influence.
No doubt. When you've got top medical educators all gathered in one place,
Mm.
to have Balak there presenting, it speaks volumes.
Absolutely. And then there's the fact that he doesn't just talk about innovation, he puts it into practice. Like with the AR and VR technologies in his workshops.
Oh, absolutely. Those immersive learning experiences.
But almost like something out of a science fiction movie.
Kind of, yeah. Well, we don't know the specifics. His research shows he sees big potential there.
I could see it too. Imagine practicing surgery in a safe, risk-free environment.
Precisely. You can make mistakes and learn from them without any real-world consequences.
Right, or even just using AR to overlay those anatomical diagrams onto a real patient.
Exactly. Makes it so much easier to visualize complex structures, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. So we've got these cutting-edge workshops happening all over the world. But what about research? What's he been up to in that realm?
Well, he's got oversight, isn't it? And one of his main focuses is, remember those bite-sized learning modules? Well, it's the design and development of those.
So he's not just a fan of microlearning. He's actively researching how to make it even better.
Precisely. He's pushing the boundaries of medical education on multiple fronts, practically and theoretically. It really highlights his commitment to making a real impact, And it's not just about the research itself, but also about sharing that knowledge and working with others.
That's right. Collaboration seems to be a big part of his approach.
Absolutely. He believes that working together is crucial, for advancing the field as a whole.
Makes sense.
Mm.
Do you have any examples of specific projects he's involved in?
The specifics are a little hard to come by. But his presence at those international conferences and webinars suggests he's definitely involved in some joint initiatives.
I can imagine those involve things like, sharing best practices or developing new teaching methods.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Maybe even conducting joint research projects. Who knows?
It all fits with his general approach, though, right? Embracing innovation, pushing for a more interconnected future for medical education.
Exactly. He seems to really get that by working together, educators can achieve so much more.
It's like a global network of medical educators all working towards the same goal.
It really is. And speaking of goals, let's talk about 2025. It seems like he's got big plans.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about those. What's on the horizon for Block?
Well, he's laid out 3 key areas he wants to focus on, and they all build upon what he's already accomplished.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
The first one is to really expand the integration of AI into education.
We've already seen some of that, right? With those micro-learning modules and personalized learning. What else does he have in mind?
Think even more sophisticated stuff, like AI assessments that can give real-time feedback, or AI tutors that adapt to each student's learning style.
Wow. AI tutors. Pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. But where does the human educator fit in all of this?
That's the thing. It's not about replacing human educators. It's about empowering them, giving them better tools to be more effective.
Oh, I see. So instead of being bogged down by grading or routine instruction, they can focus on mentorship and developing those higher-level skills.
Precisely. It's about the synergy, AI and humans working together.
Okay, I like that. AI integration is the first focus. What about the second?
His second focus is all about building platforms for educators to collaborate.
Interesting. So like online spaces where they can connect with each other?
Exactly. Share best practices, access resources, maybe even work on projects together.
It's like a global hub for innovation in medical education.
That's a great way to put it. It's about breaking down those silos and building a real sense of community.
I love that. So we've got AI integration and collaborative platforms. What's the third area?
The third one is about research, specifically fostering research initiatives that tackle the new challenges facing medical education.
What kind of challenges are we talking about here?
Well, think about how fast technology is changing in healthcare. Students need to be ready to not only use those technologies, but also adapt to new ones as they emerge.
So it's not just about keeping up with the latest gadgets, but about having that adaptable mindset.
Exactly. And that's where research comes in. Balak wants to support initiatives that can give us the insights and best practices to shape the future of medical education.
So it's about looking ahead, anticipating what those future healthcare professionals will need.
Precisely. It's recognizing that medical education is a constantly evolving field.
Wow. So we've got AI integration, collaborative platforms, and a strong emphasis on research. It's a pretty ambitious agenda for 2025. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Ambitious, yes, but definitely exciting. I mean, he's painting a picture of medical education that's more personalized, more collaborative, and way more tech-driven than ever before.
It's like he's taking all the best aspects of traditional medical education and then giving them a turbo boost.
It's impossible to predict the future for sure, but his vision gives us this glimpse into a really exciting potential, you know?
A world where medical education is tailored to each student, where learning is interactive and engaging, and where collaboration drives innovation.
Exactly. It has the potential to not only change how we educate future healthcare professionals, but also the quality of healthcare itself.
That's a powerful thought. We've talked a lot about Belloc's work and vision, but what about the actual impact? What tangible differences has he made in the lives of medical students and educators?
That's a great question. We don't have concrete data on that, but we can definitely infer a lot from what he's doing. I mean, think about those educators who attended his workshops. They're now equipped to integrate technology into their own teaching, right?
So he's creating a ripple effect. It's not just him innovating, but he's inspiring others to do the same.
Exactly. And what about the students who got to experience those AR and VR simulations? Talk about a game changer.
Right. It's one thing to read about anatomy, but it's a whole other level to actually hold a virtual heart in your hands.
Absolutely. Those kinds of experiences can really make a difference in how they learn and how much they retain.
And then there's the impact of his microlearning research. If his findings lead to better, more engaging modules, I mean, that could benefit students everywhere.
No doubt. It's all about making learning more accessible, more relevant, and honestly, just more fun.
And when students are engaged, they learn better, they think more critically, and ultimately they become better healthcare professionals.
Exactly. It's this chain reaction. And Balak's work is right at the center of it all.
It's pretty amazing to see the impact one person can have.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive into his work, I think it's safe to say that the future of medical education is looking pretty bright. Another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be taking a close look at the work of Hasnain Safar Balak. Specifically his work in medical education. And, we've got a pretty diverse set of sources to work with here. Publications, mentions from conferences, online profiles, and a lot more.
Yeah.
And it seems like it all points to a pretty strong commitment to innovation in medical education, especially using technology.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, something that really jumps out is the sheer number of publications he has, especially.
Shape the future of how we train doctors.
Okay, so 636 publications. I mean, I'm picturing stacks and stacks of journals piled, up to the ceiling.
Right.
But let's maybe try to focus on something specific here. One of the things that really caught my eye was his work on the design and development of microlearning content. Can you maybe break down for us what microlearning even means and how could it potentially change medical training as we know it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, microlearning, it's basically this idea of breaking down information into these really targeted bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
Focusing on just one specific skill or concept at a time.
Okay.
So you can kind of think of it like instead of, overwhelming medical students with this massive amount of information all at once,
Right.
we can deliver these little knowledge nuggets, just what they need when they need it.
Okay, so like instead of reading, an entire chapter in a textbook,
Exactly.
it would just focus on
Just the key points.
just the key points.
The essential information.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense, especially in a field like medicine where, there's just so much to learn.
Right.
And it seems like Hasnain wasn't just writing about these ideas in 2024, but he was also actively presenting and leading workshops at conferences.
Yeah, he was really getting out there and, sharing his expertise with the medical education community.
Yeah.
For instance, he was actually a keynote speaker at the AI and Medical Education Workshop at Sharjah University.
Okay.
And he also led a webinar on technology-enhanced learning for the Smart University of Medical Sciences in Iran.
Wow.
Plus, he was a participant at the International Medical Education Conference. And, this just shows how influential his work is becoming in, such a rapidly evolving field.
So it seems like he's really becoming a leader in this whole movement toward using technology to enhance medical education.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's definitely at the forefront.
And speaking of technology, one thing that really stood out to me was his use of augmented reality and virtual reality in these workshops.
Yeah, that's where things start to get really interesting.
I mean, I've tried out VR gaming before,
Yeah.
and it's pretty mind-blowing, I have to say.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But how are these technologies actually being used to, to teach future doctors?
Well, think of it this way. Imagine a medical student being able to, you know, practice a complex surgical procedure in a completely risk-free environment.
Oh, wow.
Using a VR headset and these haptic feedback gloves.
Wow.
They can make mistakes, learn from them, and repeat the process until they've mastered the technique,
Okay.
but without any risk to an actual patient.
That's taking hands-on learning to a whole new level.
It really is. It's pretty incredible.
I mean, no wonder he's such a big advocate for these tools.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about surgery, right? I imagine that AR and VR could be used for all sorts of, medical training scenarios.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can think about practicing diagnoses on these, virtual patients.
Right.
Visualizing complex anatomical structures in 3D.
Yeah.
It creates these really immersive learning experiences
Right.
that traditional methods just can't really compete with.
That's amazing. And what about the potential for patient education?
Oh, that's huge.
I mean, can you imagine being able to actually show a patient a 3D model of their specific condition and explaining exactly what's happening inside their body,
And imagine how empowering that could be for the patient.
right? It could really change how they approach their own health,
Absolutely. It could lead to, better communication between the doctor and the patient, more informed decision-making.
Right. So it's not just about training doctors. It's about, using this technology to bridge the gap between doctors and patients.
Exactly. It's about improving healthcare for everyone involved.
Yeah. Fostering understanding and trust and all of that. So, okay, we've talked about microlearning, AI, VR, AR. It's pretty clear that Hasnain has this really, bold vision for the future of medical education.
Mm-hmm.
But what's next for him?
Yeah. Where does he go from here?
Where does he go from here? What are his goals for 2025?
Well, from what we've gathered, it seems like he's got a few key areas he's focusing on.
Okay.
One is further integrating artificial intelligence into medical education.
Okay.
Another is developing collaborative platforms for educators to share resources. And finally, he wants to foster research initiatives to address some of the emerging challenges in the field.
That sounds ambitious.
It is.
And also a bit vague.
Yeah.
Can you maybe unpack those goals a little bit more for us? What does, further integrating AI actually look like in practice?
So let's imagine a medical student who's really struggling with a particularly challenging concept.
Okay.
Instead of, spending hours poring over textbooks or, searching online endlessly, they could just, turn to an AI-powered tutor.
Oh, wow.
Available 247 adapts to their individual learning style, provides personalized explanations and exercises.
So it's like having a customized learning companion,
Exactly. It's like having a personal tutor.
guiding them through the material.
Exactly. In a way that traditional methods just can't.
Okay, so no more like one-size-fits-all lectures.
Exactly.
Each student gets a tailored learning experience,
Exactly.
like a custom-made suit, but for their brain.
That's a great analogy.
And this personalized approach isn't just for students, is it?
No, not at all. AI could also help educators by analyzing student performance data, identifying areas where they might need additional support, and even, suggest changes to the curriculum itself.
So AI could be like a teaching assistant, almost.
In a way, yes. It can provide valuable insights and assistance.
Okay, so we've got AI tutors and data-driven insights. That's starting to paint a picture of a very different kind of medical school.
It is. It's really exciting.
What about this idea of collaborative platforms for educators?
Right. So imagine a global network where medical educators from all over the world can connect,
Okay.
share best practices,
Mm-hmm.
and even work together to create, new teaching materials and resources.
So like a professor in India could collaborate with a researcher in the US
You guys
to develop a cutting-edge VR simulation for, surgical training or something like that.
Exactly.
That's really cool. It's like breaking down the walls between
Mhm.
institutions and tapping into this collective wisdom of, the global medical education community.
Right. And it's not just about sharing existing knowledge.
Yeah.
It's also about, you know, sparking new ideas and fostering a culture of, collaboration and innovation.
Right. So by working together, educators can kind of accelerate the pace of progress and make sure that, medical students are getting the best possible training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that they're prepared for the challenges of this, rapidly evolving healthcare landscape.
Okay, and let's not forget his third goal, fostering research initiatives.
Right.
This seems especially important to me because, as we've been talking about all of this, the integration of technology into medical education does raise some big questions about the future of healthcare.
It does.
So what kind of research is he hoping to
Well,
encourage?
he's particularly interested in exploring the long-term effects of these technologies on both, doctors and patients.
Okay.
For example, how will the use of AI in medical training affect the doctor-patient relationship?
That's a really good question.
Will it, lead to greater efficiency and, better outcomes, or are there potential downsides that we need to be thinking about?
Right. It's not just about, adopting these shiny new technologies.
Right.
It's about understanding their implications
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that we're using them responsibly
Exactly.
in a way that benefits everyone.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a lot to think about.
It is.
And we've definitely covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We've only just scratched the surface.
We've learned about his impressive publication record,
Mm-hmm.
his innovative approaches to medical education, and his ambitious goals for the future.
Right.
But we're just getting started. So in the next part, we're going to delve even deeper into the potential impact of all of these advancements on the future of healthcare
Yes, we will.
and consider what it all means for you, the patient. So stay tuned.
So, welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Hasnain Zafar Billah. Before we move on, I actually wanted to go back to one of Hasnain's goals that we were talking about at the end of the last part.
Okay.
We were discussing how he wants to further integrate AI into medical education. But I think it's important to clarify that, this doesn't mean replacing human educators altogether.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in all this talk about AI tutors and start to wonder if we even need professors anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's not what Hasnain's vision is about at all. It's more about, using AI to kind of augment and enhance the role of educators.
Okay. So it's not about replacing them. It's about, giving them more tools and support.
Exactly. Think about it. Instead of, spending hours grading quizzes or delivering the same lecture, multiple times, educators could use AI to take care of those, more routine tasks.
Right. So they'd have more time and energy to, focus on the things that they do best, like mentoring students and facilitating discussions and really fostering those critical thinking skills that are so important in medicine.
Exactly. It's about creating a more, collaborative and dynamic learning environment where AI and human educators can kind of work together,
Yeah.
each playing to their strengths.
Right. So it's about using technology to actually create a more human-centered approach to education, not less.
Exactly.
And speaking of human-centered, let's talk about his goal of developing these collaborative platforms for educators.
Mm-hmm.
I really love this idea of, a global network where medical educators from all over the world can, connect and share resources and best practices and all of that.
It's a powerful idea.
It is. Can you give us some, concrete examples of how such a platform could benefit both educators and students?
Sure. So let's say you're a medical educator in, maybe a rural area where you don't have access to the latest technology or, cutting edge research. Through this platform, you could connect with, colleagues from around the world who do have that expertise.
So you could access, cutting edge teaching materials.
Yeah.
Virtual simulations, even get, expert consultations,
Oh.
all without even leaving your community.
Exactly. It's about making sure that every medical student, regardless of where they are or what their background is, has the opportunity to learn from the best.
Right. And it's not just about, giving people access to existing resources, right?
No, it's also about, encouraging the creation of new and innovative tools.
Right. So like a group of educators from different countries could, come together online and work together to create some, groundbreaking VR simulation or something.
Exactly. And each educator would bring their own, unique perspective and expertise to the project.
That's amazing. And it's not just about the technology itself, right? It's about this, cross-cultural exchange of ideas.
Right. It's about preparing these future doctors to practice medicine in a world that's becoming increasingly interconnected and diverse.
It's about fostering empathy and, cultural understanding and all of that.
That's
Those qualities are just as important in medicine as any technical skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about Hasnain's third goal, fostering research initiatives.
Okay.
We've been talking about how integrating technology into medical education raises all these, important questions.
Right.
And these are questions that really need further exploration.
Right. It's not enough to just, adopt new technologies. We need to really understand their impact, on the learning process, on the doctor-patient relationship, and ultimately on the future of healthcare.
Absolutely. So what are some of the specific research questions that, he's interested in?
Yeah. What are those big questions?
One area he's interested in is the long-term impact of AI-assisted learning on, students' critical thinking skills.
Right. Because AI
Right.
can be great at, delivering information and giving feedback and all of that. But there is that concern that, over-reliance on those tools could, hinder their ability to think for themselves and solve problems, creatively.
Exactly. We don't want to create a generation of doctors who are just, blindly following algorithms.
Right. We need doctors who can, think critically and make judgments in, those complex real-world situations.
Exactly. So the question isn't just, can AI teach doctors? It's more like, how can we use AI to teach doctors to think like doctors?
Right.
Another area he's keen on exploring is the impact of technology on that doctor-patient relationship.
Right. We've talked about, how VR and AR can be used to, enhance patient education and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But could there be some downsides to that?
Right.
Could, too much technology actually create a barrier between doctor and patient?
It's a valid concern.
Mm.
Some studies have actually shown that patients tend to prefer doctors who maintain eye contact and, really listen to them
Okay.
rather than, doctors who are constantly, looking at screens or interacting with devices during the consultation.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly.
Using technology to enhance communication, but not letting it, dominate the interaction.
Exactly. It's about using technology to empower both doctors and patients,
Right.
but not letting it become a substitute for that human connection.
Right. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part. We've, explored Hasnain's goals for 2025.
Hmm.
We've delved into some, really complex questions about technology and medical education.
We have.
But the big question remains, how will all of this affect the future of healthcare as a whole?
That's the big question.
And what does it mean for you, the patient?
That's what we'll be exploring in our final part.
All right, so welcome back to the show. We spent the last two parts really getting deep into Hasnain Zafar Balak's work in medical education.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We've talked about microlearning, AI, virtual reality,
Mm-hmm.
and it really seems like, we're at this point where we're about to see some pretty big changes in how doctors are trained. But I think now it's time to sort of shift our focus to you, the listener.
Right, bring it back around to the patient.
Yeah, because ultimately all of this innovation in medical education, it's all about improving healthcare for everyone.
Absolutely, that's the goal.
So let's think about this practically. If Hasnain's vision for the future of medical education actually comes true, how might your experience as a patient be different 5, 10 years down the road?
That's a great question. So imagine walking into a doctor's office, right? And instead of just describing your symptoms, your doctor is able to pull up a 3D model of your specific condition, and it's tailored to your individual anatomy.
Okay, so like I could actually see what's happening inside my own body.
Exactly. And they could even use augmented reality to overlay that model onto your body, so you could see exactly what's going on.
Oh, wow. That would be incredible. No more, trying to decipher medical jargon or looking at confusing diagrams.
Right? And that kind of visual understanding can be really empowering for patients. It can help them ask better questions, make more informed decisions about their treatment options, and feel more confident in their doctor's recommendations.
It sounds like a much more, collaborative approach to healthcare.
Exactly. It's about putting the patient at the center of the care.
And it's not just about visualization, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Doctors who are trained in these, tech-forward environments are going to be much better equipped to leverage all the power of AI. Using it to analyze your medical history, identify potential risks, and even develop personalized treatment plans that are tailored to your specific needs.
So it's moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach to medicine and,
Exactly.
and more towards, individualized care.
Precisely. Now, I know some people might be listening to all of this and thinking, okay, well, this sounds great, but what about the human touch? Won't all this technology make healthcare feel impersonal?
Right. I can see how someone might worry about that. Doctors being, glued to their screens instead of making eye contact and really listening to their patients.
And that's a valid concern. But it's important to remember that technology should be used to enhance the doctor-patient relationship, not replace it.
Right. So the goal isn't to create, you know, robotic doctors who are just following algorithms.
Exactly. It's about empowering doctors with the tools and knowledge that they need to be even more present, more empathetic, and more responsive to their patients' needs.
So you're saying that technology could actually free up doctors to be more human?
In a way, yes. Think about it. If a doctor can quickly access your medical history, analyze your test results, and come up with a personalized treatment plan using AI that gives them more time and energy to really focus on listening to you, understand your concerns, and answer your questions.
Right. So it's not about replacing human connection with technology.
No.
It's about using technology to create space for a deeper, more meaningful connection.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the potential for these technologies to really improve access to healthcare,
Yeah.
especially in rural or underserved communities.
Oh, it's a great point.
Imagine being able to consult with a specialist who's thousands of miles away through a VR platform.
Yeah.
You could receive the same level of care and expertise as if you were sitting right there in their office.
That could be life-changing for so many people.
Absolutely. And that's just one example of how these advancements in medical education have the potential to create a more equitable and accessible healthcare system for everyone.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
And we've really, we started by looking at Hasneen Zafar Balak's work in medical education.
Hmm.
And we ended up with, kind of this glimpse into a future where healthcare is more personalized, more accessible, and more patient-centered than ever before.
It's an exciting time to be in healthcare.
It really is. And, there will be challenges along the way. But it's clear that, we're at this turning point.
Yeah.
And if we can, embrace innovation, foster collaboration, and really stay focused on the human element, I think we can create a future where everyone has the opportunity to live a healthier and more fulfilling life.
I agree with you completely.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation.
It has.
And I feel really inspired after exploring all of this with you. It's incredible to see how these advancements are shaping the future of healthcare.
Me too. And I want to encourage all of our listeners out there to stay curious, stay engaged, and keep asking questions. The future of healthcare is being created right now, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
That's a great message to end on. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Hasnain Zafar Balak and the future of medical education. Until next time, keep those minds curious, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.
All right, so let's dive into Hasnain Zafar Balak's work in medical education. You're interested in his impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, from the research you gave us, we've got his publications, workshops, and conferences he led, and even a glimpse into what he's got planned next year.
It's interesting because he's not just an academic, He's bridging the gap between traditional medical education and cutting-edge tech, like AR and VR.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. So maybe we should start with who he is and why he's so important in this field.
Well, Hasnain's a leading expert, and his publication record is amazing, over 636 publications. But what sets him apart is how he makes this knowledge accessible. He's always leading workshops, presenting at conferences, constantly sharing his expertise, so he's really shaping how future doctors are trained.
Wow, that's impressive. So he's not just, stuck in research. He's actually out there making a difference.
Exactly. He focuses on practical applications like microlearning and immersive technology.
Okay, so about those. Can you explain the concrete benefits of AR and VR in medical education? They sound cool, but...
So imagine a medical student learning about heart surgery. In the past, it was textbooks and some videos. But with VR, they can be in a virtual operating room, interacting with a 3D heart, even practicing surgery.
That's wild. It's not theoretical anymore. They're experiencing it.
Right. And it's safe. They can make mistakes, learn from them, and build confidence before a real operating room, which is really important for delicate procedures where every second counts.
That makes sense. What about microlearning? How does that fit in?
Well, think about how we learn now, right? Short bursts, on the go, tons of new information. Microlearning adapts to that. Instead of hours of lectures, it breaks complex topics into smaller, focused
You
modules.
know, like the essential stuff, right, when you need it, easy to digest.
Exactly. And for busy med students, that's huge. They learn efficiently and remember more, leading to better patient care.
That's a great point. So it's not just making it easier, it's about giving them the tools to be the best doctors they can be. Now, you mentioned 2024 was a big year for Hasnain workshops, conferences. Give us some highlights.
Absolutely. He had a workshop at Sharjah University in February focusing on AI in medical education.
AI in medical education. That sounds really advanced.
It is. He talked about using AI to analyze how students do in those VR simulations. The AI can then adjust the difficulty, give feedback, suggest where they need practice, like a virtual tutor.
Wow. That's like next level personalized learning. What else happened in 2024?
He also did a webinar for Smart University of Medical Sciences in Iran, highlighting technology in medical education. And in October, he spoke at the International Medical Education Conference, IMS, sharing his insights with educators worldwide.
So he's not just coming up with these ideas, he's spreading them, encouraging others to use them. It's like he's starting a movement.
He is, and his research on developing microlearning content is a big part of that.
Okay, so we've talked about technology, but what exactly is he researching with microlearning?
He's developing a framework for creating effective microlearning modules for medical education. It's like a blueprint for other educators to create bite-sized learning.
So he's not keeping it to himself. He's sharing his knowledge and empowering others. That's remarkable.
Yeah, and that collaborative spirit is at the heart of his work.
Okay, so we've got a good idea of his background and his work in 2024. What stands out to you about his work so far?
I think his holistic approach is really fascinating. He doesn't just use technology randomly, he combines it with a deep understanding of learning, especially in the demanding world of medicine. It's about helping students and teachers be their best.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not about the tech itself, but how it's used to make learning better. So what about the future? What's he planning for 2025?
Well, he's got big plans, especially with expanding the role of AI.
Oh, yeah. We talked about AI personalizing learning by analyzing those VR simulations. What else is he looking into?
He wants to develop intelligent tutoring systems, not just analyzing performance, but like imagine a system that gets a student's learning style, figures out their weaknesses, and recommends resources, specific articles, exercises, even connecting with other students working on the same things.
Like a personalized guide through all that medical knowledge.
Exactly. And it's more than just info. They could give real-time feedback, answer questions, even simulate talking to patients, so students can practice communication and diagnosis safely.
That's amazing. It's like having a mentor available all the time. But his vision's bigger than individual learning, right?
Right. He also wants to build online platforms for educators to connect and collaborate.
Interesting. What would that look like?
Think of a global network. Medical educators from everywhere connect, share lesson plans, discuss challenges, create new resources together.
So instead of working alone, they're learning from each other and pushing the boundaries of medical education.
Yeah. This kind of collaboration could really speed up innovation in teaching, helping both students and teachers.
And in the end, that helps patients because better doctors mean better healthcare.
Absolutely. That's the core of his work.
Now, research is key for him, but you said he also wants to encourage research in the community. Can you talk more about that?
He wants to empower others to tackle new challenges in medical education. So he's creating research grants and fellowships focused on innovative teaching and tech.
So he's not just doing research himself, he's giving others a chance to contribute. That's pretty inspiring.
It is, and it goes back to his mission to constantly improve and innovate medical education through technology and collaboration.
And it sounds like he's making amazing progress. From his work with AR and VR to those AI platforms and networks, he's shaping how doctors are trained.
He's a visionary leader who's not afraid to challenge the norm and see what's possible, and his impact is already worldwide.
We know our listener wants to understand his impact. What's the main takeaway for them so far?
I think the key is technology, when used right, can have a huge impact on education.
Yeah, good point. But it's not just about the tech, right? It's how he uses it to empower students and teachers, creating a culture of innovation and collaboration.
Exactly. That's what makes it so interesting. He's changing how we think about medical education itself.
So we've talked about his accomplishments this year and his plans for next year. But let's go back to the AR and VR stuff. I think that really grabs people's attention. Can you give us a clearer picture of how that works in practice?
Okay, so let's say a student's learning about the brain.
Hmm.
Right? Normally, you'd have those 2D diagrams in a textbook trying to picture it.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah,
Not the most exciting.
exactly. But with AR and VR, it's different. Put on a headset, and boom, you're inside a 3D brain. You can rotate it, zoom in, even peel back layers and see how it all connects.
Wow, so it's like having a real brain right there.
Pretty much. And get this, he's even using VR for neurological procedures. Students practice surgeries virtually, getting feedback in real time.
So it's more than just anatomy. They're actually learning the skills.
Exactly, connecting theory and practice in a way that wasn't possible before. And since it's virtual, no risk to patients. They can experiment, make mistakes, and learn from them, all safely.
It's like a safe space to practice and build confidence before the real deal.
That's it. And that's just the start. The potential for AR and VR is huge. We could have doctors diagnosing diseases virtually, practicing emergencies in disaster zones, even exploring cells and molecules up close.
It makes you think, if it's already changing medical education, what about other fields?
That's a great point, and one that Hasnain wants people to consider. He thinks this way of learning could change everything, from engineering to art.
That's pretty exciting. So for our listener, I think we've shown that he's not just influencing medical education, he's shaping its future.
Definitely. Hasnain Zafar Balak is a real trailblazer using technology and collaboration to empower a new generation of doctors and change how we deliver healthcare.
It really shows how powerful innovation can be and how important it is to find new ways of learning. If anything, I hope our listener sees that the future of education is bright, especially thanks to people like Hasnain who aren't afraid to push the limits.
I agree, and if anyone wants to learn more, we've got links to his work in the show notes. Dive in and see the amazing things he's doing.
It's definitely worth checking out. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating look at how technology can change education and the incredible people leading the way.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the world of medical education.
Oh, exciting.
It is, and we've got someone really special to talk about today. Someone who is honestly shaking things up in the field.
Sounds intriguing already.
It is. We're going to be looking at the work of Hasnain Zafar Balak. And trust me, this isn't your typical, how to teach doctors kind of stuff. We're going to be talking AI.
AI.
Yeah.
Wow.
Immersive learning experiences, global collaboration on a scale that's like, whoa, could totally redefine medical education as we know it.
Okay, I am hooked. Tell me more about this Hasnain Zafar Balak.
So that's exactly where we're going to start, because you look at his work and you're instantly hit by the numbers. What's really impressive is the focus of his work. He's laser focused on using technology to change how we train doctors, make it more effective, more engaging.
And keep up with the times, right? Because medicine is always changing.
Yeah, exactly. So before we get into the specifics of how he's doing all of that, let's start with the basics. Who is Hasnain Zafar Balak? What drives him?
Well, at his core, he is absolutely passionate about medical education. But he's got this really unique tech-savvy approach. He sees the potential of things like AI and immersive experiences, like you were saying, to really prepare doctors for the real world.
Okay, so less theory, more action.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
But medical education, it's a huge field. So what are the specific things he's tackling? What are the challenges he's trying to solve?
Okay, so one of the key things he focuses on is microlearning.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah. So think of it like this, like
Yeah.
trying to learn everything about the human body from one giant textbook. It's overwhelming. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so microlearning comes in and breaks down all that complex info into these bite-sized, really focused lessons,
Bite-sized.
bite-sized,
Yeah.
which are way easier to grasp and actually use.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, especially for medical students. They're busy. You could fit a microlearning session in like between rounds or before a big exam.
Exactly. And the best part, Hasnain isn't just talking about microlearning. He's actually creating the content.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
he's not just saying, hey, this is a good idea. He's building the tools to make it happen.
Exactly. He's developing these super specific modules that just fit right into the world of medicine.
That's impressive. But we can't forget the AI and virtual reality you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Where do those fit in?
Okay, so this is where things get really, really interesting. So he's a huge advocate for using augmented and virtual reality in medical education. Just imagine. Imagine a student being able to practice a surgical procedure in VR before ever setting foot in an actual operating room.
It's like a flight simulator for surgeons.
That's a great way to put it.
But wouldn't that be really expensive to set up? How accessible is that for medical schools?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. The technology, it is a factor, but the cost is actually becoming more and more affordable. And when you think about it, you have to weigh that cost against the potential benefits. Think about all the medical errors that could be avoided with that kind of training.
It's an investment in the future of healthcare.
Exactly. And that's what he's doing, investing in that future. And it's not just surgical skills. AR and VR can help students develop critical thinking, problem solving, all in this safe virtual world.
So it's not just about, practicing the technical stuff. It's training their minds to actually think like doctors.
Exactly.
Wow. I see why people are calling him a game changer. But his work in 2024, this is just the beginning, right? There's more to come.
Oh, there's so much more. This is all just the groundwork for even bigger plans he's got for 2025 and beyond,
I can't wait to hear about it.
shaping how we think about the future of the field.
It's one thing to have great ideas,
Totally.
but it's another thing entirely to actually put them into practice and see them change things.
Right.
And he's clearly doing both.
He is, and one of the best examples is his work with augmented reality in anatomy education. Think about it. Traditionally, anatomy was taught with textbooks and these flat diagrams, right?
Yeah, it's hard to get a sense of the human body from a flat image.
Right. So with AR, students can interact with these 3D models of the body, rotate them, zoom in on specific parts, even virtually dissect them.
That's incredible, bringing anatomy to life in a way that just isn't possible with textbooks.
Exactly.
But wouldn't you need special equipment for that? Not every medical school can afford AR headsets for everyone.
True. But the tech's getting better all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There are AR apps now that work on smartphones and tablets.
Oh, that makes it way more accessible.
Right. And Hasnain's working on ways to integrate AR into existing teaching plans so it's not this massive overhaul.
That's really smart.
It is. It's like finding ways to weave cutting-edge tech into what they're already doing. And AR and anatomy are just one example. He's looking at all sorts of ways to use AR and VR in medical education. Think about simulating patient interactions, practicing surgery, even navigating through a virtual hospital.
It's like giving medical students a whole new toolbox to learn and practice with.
Exactly. And they can experiment without risk, make mistakes, and learn from them without any real-world consequences.
Right.
Pretty amazing. And then on top of all of that, there's his focus on global collaboration.
It feels like he's got a million things going on.
He does. But it all ties together
Yeah.
because he knows that the challenges facing medical education, they're global. That's why he's so passionate about building those online platforms so educators can connect and share ideas.
It's like breaking down borders in medical education.
Yeah, exactly. And he sees a future where geography doesn't limit what we can learn and how we can teach. But let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
And think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What's his long-term vision? Like, where does he see medical education going in the next, say, 10 or 20 years?
That's a great question. And to really understand that, we've got to think about how fast technology is changing all around us.
Right. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Breakthroughs in AI, VR, biotechnology, data analysis, all of this is going to have a huge impact on healthcare.
Yeah,
And medical education has to keep up, right?
absolutely.
And that's exactly what he's trying to do.
He is. He's not just playing catch-up with technology.
Right.
He's thinking ahead. He's trying to anticipate what doctors will need to know in the future.
Like future-proofing medical education.
Exactly.
That's a great way to put it.
And he sees this future where medical education just flows seamlessly with all this new technology, where learning is personalized, immersive, driven by data.
That's a pretty amazing vision, but all this talk about technology makes me wonder, where does the human element fit in? Is there a risk that technology will just replace teachers altogether?
It's a good question and one that comes up a lot. But Hasnain's pretty clear technology can't fully replace that human touch in education.
So it's not about replacing teachers, but giving them better tools.
Yeah, giving them new strategies to be even more effective. Technology can enhance teaching, personalize learning, and even help teachers connect with students on a deeper level.
But teachers will always be crucial. For things like mentoring, guiding, and inspiring students, technology can't do that.
There's something about that human connection that's irreplaceable. A great teacher doesn't just give you information. They spark your curiosity, make you question what you thought you knew, and help you fall in love with learning.
And that's what's so great about Hasnain's approach.
Yeah.
He's not saying, get rid of the old ways and bring in the robots.
Right, he's not about that.
He wants to use technology thoughtfully to support educators, not replace them.
He sees technology as something that can empower teachers, give them new ways to connect with students, and tailor their lessons to each individual.
It's about AI helping teachers become even better at what they do.
Exactly. And I think that vision goes beyond just medical education.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about how we can use technology to create a more human-centered approach to learning in general.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. Technology keeps changing, but it's up to us to make sure it serves us, not the other way around. And I think Hasnin's work is a fantastic example of how to do that. So before we move on, I want to turn back to our listeners. Think about this. If you could design your perfect learning experience, what would it be like?
Would you have a personalized AI tutor? What about immersive virtual reality simulations? Or maybe you'd love to collaborate with other learners from around the world. What would make learning truly transformative for you?
It's a great question to think about. And while you're doing that, we'll be right back to wrap up this episode and share some final thoughts. Stay with us.
And we're back. Wow, what a deep dive this has been. It's really been eye-opening to explore the future of medical education through the work of Hasnain Zafar Balagh.
It really is remarkable. From those bite-sized microlearning modules to the potential of AI tutors and global collaboration, he's really changing how we think about training doctors. He's not just changing how we think about it, he's actually creating a whole new landscape for medical education. It reminds me of those old sci-fi movies that showed futuristic classrooms. Hasnain's actually making that future a reality, and it's happening right now.
And it's a future that could benefit everyone. The better we train our doctors, the better prepared they'll be to face the complex healthcare challenges of the 21st century. Ultimately, it's all about improving patient care and creating a healthier world for everyone.
Speaking of a healthier world, before the break, we asked you, our listeners, to imagine your ideal learning experience. We'd love to hear your ideas. But while you're thinking about that, there's one more thing I want to highlight about Hasnain's work that I found particularly insightful.
I'm all ears. What caught your attention?
It's his emphasis on the human element of education. In a world that's increasingly dominated by technology, it's easy to get caught up in all hype and forget about the importance of things like mentorship, guidance, and inspiration.
You're absolutely right. We can have all the fancy tech in the world, but without those human connections, something vital is missing. A good teacher doesn't just deliver information. They spark curiosity, challenge assumptions, and nurture a love of learning.
Exactly. And that's what I find so refreshing about Hasnain's approach. He's not suggesting we throw out traditional teaching methods and replace them with robots. He's advocating for a thoughtful integration of technology, a way to enhance and support the role of the educator, not diminish it.
He sees the potential for technology to empower teachers, to give them new tools to connect with students and personalize the learning experience. It's not about AI replacing teachers. It's about AI helping teachers be even better at what they do.
It's a powerful vision, and I think it's one that resonates far beyond the field of medical education. It speaks to the broader question of how we can leverage technology to create a more human-centered approach to learning in all fields and at all levels.
That's a crucial point. As technology continues to evolve, it's up to us to ensure that it serves humanity, not the other way around. And I think Hasnain's work is a great example of how we can do just that.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Hasnain Zafar Balagh and the future of medical education, we want to leave you with this final thought. It's a thought that has echoed throughout our conversation today. The power of continuous learning and adaptation.
This isn't just for doctors, it's for everyone. In a world that's changing at an unprecedented pace, the ability to learn, adapt, and evolve is more essential than ever.
Got it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. Buckle up.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so get this.
Okay.
For 2025, Hasnain's vision goes way beyond just adding in some cool tech.
Yeah.
He's talking about personalized AI tutors.
Oh, wow.
Like, imagine each student having this virtual guide, right? That adapts to how they learn best,
Wow.
figures out where they struggle, and then gives them the exact support they need.
AI tutors, that sounds so futuristic, but if anyone can pull it off, it's probably him, right? Because he's not just throwing technology at the problem. He's really thinking about how to use it in a smart way that actually makes learning better.
Yeah, totally.
But how would that even work? Can AI really, replace a human teacher?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are wondering about that. But the way Hasnain sees it, AI is more like a super powerful tool for teachers, not a replacement.
Okay.
It's like having an assistant that can take care of the boring stuff, like grading quizzes, giving basic feedback so the human teacher can focus on the important things, like mentoring and guidance.
Right, that makes sense. AI could handle the basics, and teachers can focus on the human side of learning. Inspiring students, teaching them to think critically.
Exactly. It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, there's always more.
He also wants to build this global community of medical educators.
Really?
Yeah. He's talking about these online platforms where educators from all over the world,
From all over.
yeah, can connect, share their best practices, learn from each other.
Oh, it'd be like a virtual think tank for medical education.
Right.
Wow, where people can brainstorm, share resources, collaborate on research. That could seriously speed up how fast things change in the field.
For sure.
But wouldn't that be super hard to actually do? I mean, medical education is so different in different countries.
Oh, yeah, it would definitely be a challenge. But Hesnane, he seems to love a good challenge. He sees all that diversity as a strength, not a weakness.
Oh, I like that.
Because when you bring together educators from all these different backgrounds and cultures, you get a way richer perspective, right, on the problems and the opportunities in medical education.
It's like you're cross-pollinating ideas from all over the world.
Yeah. Exactly. And that could lead to some amazing solutions. But hey, let's not forget about the impact he's already making.
Right. So whether you're a medical student, a seasoned doctor, or just someone with a curious mind, never stop exploring, questioning, and pushing the boundaries of what you know. The future belongs to those who are willing to learn and adapt.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one pioneering the next breakthrough in your own field.
If you want to delve deeper into Hasnain Zafar Balak's work, we've provided links in the show notes. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those brains engaged.
Farewell, fellow learners.